Florida is very strict in terms of before you can ever pursue a case in Florida, it has to be reviewed by a similar expert in the area. So if you're treating with a specialist in a certain area, you need a specialist that can review the medical records. It has to be the independent evidence. So you can't just tell your story to the expert and the expert's going to rely upon that and say there's been a medical malpractice error here. The medical records, the testing, the diagnoses, all of that has to be reviewed by an independent, similar expert to say whether there's been a breach of what's called the community standard of care. So that's the accepted practice in the community for that type of doctor or that type of medical provider. You'll also have to then perhaps get a second look at that to determine whether that departure, that error caused injury. Sometimes it's obvious, but oftentimes it's not so obvious because there may be multiple causes of an injury or an illness. And so being able to prove, what we have to prove really is the team of doctors and nurses in-house and out-of-house that we would go to, credentials that would support the case is the most important area, because you can't even get through the front door until you've allowed us at Farah Farah to investigate and to find the appropriate expert to support the case. These cases are very hard to navigate and there's lots of layers to them. And so you need an attorney and really a team of attorneys with different areas of expertise within the firm. Some attorneys that will work primarily with the experts, other attorneys that will work primarily on how it's affected your life and your damages. And we compile a team and we work these cases meticulously with multiple lawyers, nurses, investigators. And so to handle each layer of complexity that's necessary, really you need to work with a firm that has the resources and that has the wherewithal and experience to prosecute these cases and to take a real deep dive into all of the different areas that are necessary to be able to prove a case, and then to not just prove it with what the experts will say, but be able to make sure it's able to be used in court, because all of the rules of procedure, and it's only getting harder and harder to be able to prove your case, require that the experts have to follow a certain method to how they evaluate a case. It used to be they could just say, based on my personal opinion, my treatment, my experience, my training. Now there's different areas of medical negligence that require their methods to be supported by authoritative sources and bodies of literature and studies. And so for each step and each unique case, it's important that the right expert and the expert's methods are vetted on the front end, so you don't kind of chase something that you can't prove ultimately in court.